Hello, I'm going to be making oxtail stew. First, start with the ingredients. We have oxtail, garlic, ginger, onion, red wine, canned tomatoes. This is Contadina whole peel tomatoes I got from Walmart. 2 carrots. Going to use 2 stalks of celery and soy sauce. Kikkoman. So I use a large container, and I take 3 cloves of garlic, 2 slivers of ginger, not too much, and about 1/4 of an onion. I'll be adding more of this later on. And this is what you get. So I'm going to put this in the container now. This is onion, and I'll be adding the meat next. I'm going to take the time to rinse it off, clean it off, and pat it dry. Okay, now that I've got my meat stirred up, I have everything kind of facing upwards. So what we can do here is put the meat in the fridge and let it marinate overnight. So now that we've marinated the meat, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Unfortunately, yesterday something happened with my camera, so I couldn't show you the process of adding the soy sauce and the red wine. But here it is. And basically I've added twice the meat because I'm cooking for a larger group today. But basically, if you were to take an oxtail piece, you want it to come up to about maybe here in the bowl. You don't have to cover it completely with the red wine and the soy sauce. I've also added some celery. I cut up the celery and the carrots. So this is what it looks like. Not too small. Now I'm going to sear the onion and the meat. So some people like to eat the meat with the flour and then sear it. And this makes for a thicker sauce, which is not so runny. And you can do it that way if you want. Personally, I like my oxtail to be runnier. So what I start with typically is the onion. This is pretty easy. And what I've done is I've heated up my pan, then add the onion. I'm going to sear the onions right here until they're slightly brown. And I've chopped up approximately half of an onion. What the onion does is it gives the oxtail stew a sweeter taste. So if you want a sweeter taste, you can add more onion. So now I can show you what the onions look like. Brown them a little bit. It's almost like stir fry. And I'm going to put them into the pot. Next I'm going to put the oxtail in. After only a few seconds, you can start to see it turning brown already on the outside. One step that's recommended by a lot of people is to trim the fat from the meat, but whenever I do it, I tend to have a hard time cutting the fat. The way they cut these tails, most of the fat has already been cut off. I did try to cut out some of the fat yesterday, and the results weren't very good. One thing to remember when you're searing the meat, the purpose is to seal in the juices of the marinade. So when you're searing it on the pot, You want to brown the meat, but you don't want to cook it all the way through. And for the amount of oxtail that I was using yesterday, 1 can of tomatoes would be sufficient. Just pour the whole thing in like so. You also want to add the rest of the meat marinade. It gives it some flavor. This is the reason why you don't want to put too much soy sauce for the marinade. I'm just trying to mix it up a little bit. Right now it's 8:30 and you want to cook this for a minimum of 2 hours. Typically I like to cook it for around 3 to 4 hours to make the meat real tender. The longer you cook it, the softer the meat will become. And what you'd like to see is you'd like to see the meat of the oxtail almost falling off the bone. And I'm going to cover it up. What I'm going to do is boil it right now. I'm going to put it on high heat. And what this does is it brings the oxtail stew to a boil. And after I bring it to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and put it on low heat and simmer it for, slow cook it for about 3 to 4 hours. And the reason why I put it on high instead of just putting on simmer is because if I were to put it on simmer right now, it would take forever for the meat to start to heat up. Okay, now the oxtail stew is boiling, so I can go ahead and put it on low cook. For me, that's the number 2 on my dial. There's 10 settings. And now it's actually a little bit easier for me to maneuver because now I can already see that there's quite a bit of water or liquid that has come out of the stew, and so now it makes it easier to lift things. I'm going to try to stir this up a little bit better so I can get some of the vegetables out from the bottom. I guess I should have added those in last. Okay, from here we can let it set. You want to turn it. You want to watch it and you want to turn it every half hour. So right now it's 8:48. So 30 minutes from now I'm going to come back, check on it, turn it over to make sure, and then after about 2 to 3 hours, check on the meat. As you're checking on it, you can feel the meat as you're stirring it up. And you can tell that the meat is starting to get soft. And when the meat is almost falling off the bone, you can try it. And if it's very soft, then you know it's getting close. I typically eat it with rice, but you can eat it any way you like. Some people eat it with potatoes. They add the potatoes in afterwards. There's different styles. This is the style that we use in our family, and this is the recipe that my dad uses. Very, very delicious. So that's going to be it as far as a oxtail stew recipe.